right, good morning. And wow, that that dragon smoke puff of vape that was coming out of your face as the transition happened, just really worked with the sound effect. We got Drew and Steve with us so far. Good morning, boys. Good morning. Good to see you. I hope
morning,
you
gentlemen.
saw the thumbnail and are tracking on what we're talking about this morning. Psyops. Psyops, because physical wounds can heal. Puff the Magic Cameron. So, we touched on this a little bit last night on the Cruster Fruck, but we were more focused on the actual January 6th event than anything else last night. So,
hey, buddy, can I see the chat?
Didn't I share it already?
I can't see it. Anyhow, not to derail you, I'm sorry. I'm just giving you a hard time.
That should be it.
Oh, it is not, but it's all right.
Okay, I don't know what's wrong with your phone. Anyway, so Steve said Puff the Magic Cameron, and it was funny. So Krista's with us again. Steve says the January 6th leftist orchestrated ambush. That's
Cameron's opinion. That was Cameron's initial guess. Just pointing, you know.
Anyway, so what we're talking about this morning is the Psyop relative to censorship. And I want to go ahead and get the impeachment stuff out of the way before we get into the rest of it. Cameron, you brought up earlier in our pre-show call that the articles of impeachment are supposed to be brought to the floor today, and we're not going to dig into that too much right now because it's a thing that's about to happen. You should be aware that it's about to happen, and I highly recommend that everybody follow the news today and kind of stay abreast of what actually happens, what's alleged. Articles of impeachment are absolutely ridiculous at this point. Donald Trump has not committed crimes or misdemeanors. He has not done anything that rises to the level of impeachment. He hasn't done anything that should even shadow the question of impeachment. But with respect to the conversation we're having this morning about censorship and the ongoing Psyop, is that part of everything that you've just seen happen, and this leads credence to the idea that to the theory that the January 6th activities were at least in part orchestrated by leftist agent provocateurs. Now, we know that to be a fact, right? There's no question about the fact that there were leftist agent provocateurs on the ground, members of BLM and Antifa, who were there to rabble, rouse, and incite. They've been identified specifically and placed there with credible video footage and images, and even a few of them have flatly made statements that they were there and for that reason. So that there was at least some involvement from leftist agent provocateurs to exacerbate the situation on the 6th, not a question. That's absolutely a fact. That's not a conspiracy theory. It's also worth note to point out, by the way, that Trump was still speaking to the crowd of people that were there for the protest at the time that the stuff at Capitol Hill started going the way it went. And so the people that were there for the president were there with the president, as in not at the Capitol building when everything popped off. So
I don't know that's not. I was listening to the whole thing live, and
fact check
the
me.
president. I was listening to the whole thing live, and the president concluded his remarks, and it was after he was done speaking that everything started to go sideways.
Yeah, but take a look at the timeline. It was after he was done speaking that everything went sideways. Was it hours later? Was it a half hour later? No. The fact of the matter is that the people that were there to hear the president speak, there was not time for the majority of them to get from the speech over to Capitol Hill in order for them to be involved in that activity.
Dude, it's a short walk from the mall to the Capitol. Short fucking walk.
This is we're getting into the weeds and far afield of the original topic. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But I mean, even a short walk with hundreds of thousands of people that's an undertaking, right? So anyway, back to the point of the impeachment. The activity of the 6th has been used as the inciting incident to begin sweeping, unconstitutional, illegal censorship. The sudden purge of conservative voices from social media, not to mention, and I'm going to mention it because fuck y'all, the removal of Parler from the Apple App Store, the Google Play Store, so on and so forth. Now we're looking at the enemy bringing articles of impeachment. And let's be very clear about what's happening there. These articles of impeachment are being brought. Nancy Pelosi is pushing for articles of impeachment because when last week she attempted to conduct a military coup, and to be very clear, when I say we believe Nancy Pelosi attempted to conduct a military coup, the New York Times reports that Nancy Pelosi pressed Pentagon on safeguards to prevent Trump from ordering military action. But short of the cabinet invoking the 25th Amendment or impeaching and convicting the president, it would be an unconstitutional activity to defy legal orders from the commander-in-chief, experts note. To be very clear, they explained to her, where is it in here? That what she's asking for the military commanders to disregard or ignore or refuse lawful orders from the commander-in-chief before he leaves office, that is unconstitutional, that is illegal for them to do. And it's as simple as this. What Nancy Pelosi attempted to do by attempting to instruct members of the military to stop accepting orders from the president is a military coup. She attempted to conduct a military coup. She was stopped. The military coup by Nancy Pelosi was stopped by military officials who said, no, we refuse to conduct a military coup for you. If you want to do the thing you're trying to do, then you have to impeach him and remove him from office before the inauguration, or get him out in some other way. Now, they've also floated this idea of using the 25th Amendment. Okay, for one, you're not going to get Ben Carson on board for the 25th Amendment. You're not going to get Mike Pence on. Even if you get Mike Pence on board for the 25th Amendment, you will not get Ben Carson on board for the 25th Amendment. So, quite simply, that's not an option. For two, the 25th Amendment is pretty clear that it is for the purposes of removing a president from office and putting the vice president in position in the event that the president is physically incapacitated. Now, there's an argument to extend that includes mental incapacitation. Say if a president was of significantly advanced age and suffering from obvious dementia, then an ambitious vice president with a compliant cabinet might move to use the 25th Amendment to install Kamala Harris as the first female of color, the first POS candidate, with the support of a divisively compliant cabinet. Now, sure, you can make that argument because there is a point at which somebody is clearly incompetent to serve in the office of president. Like, for example, if they have advanced dementia, which is not early onset because they're 80. But as a matter of the question of removing Trump from office, there's no argument to be made under the 25th Amendment. And so they're pushing forward with impeachment because when all else fails, you can lie. So we get impeachment instead of a coup. Instead of a military coup, we get a political coup.
It's not just that they're lying, though. Like, this is actually part of the censorship. It's part of the Psyop. It's not only is it a big fuck you, we're going to impeach him again, even though it went down in flames a year ago. But they can also set it up so that he can never run for public office again. But
correct.
This is right in line with knocking him off Facebook, knocking him off Instagram, knocking him off Twitter. And now they're going to literally bar him from public life. And look, make no mistake about it. If they can censor the president, they can censor you. And it's not going to stop there either. Please believe it is right around the corner where people are going to make suggestions along the lines of, yeah, but should you really extend Donald Trump a line of credit? I mean, he is a Nazi after all. And you don't want to do business with Nazis, do you?
Well, another piece of this puzzle is the president will now be prevented from addressing the public in his own defense in the middle of a second impeachment. And God, the history books, if they're honest, will not be kind to the opposition of Donald Trump. Now, we're asking for a lot to expect a history book to be honest, especially in the age of the 1619 project. But the fact of the matter is, an honest retelling of the Democrat Party's activities during the Trump administration is 3 ludicrously failed coup attempts at a minimum. I could probably argue for a good 5 or 6 ludicrously failed and ill-conceived coup attempts. But at a minimum, all 3 approaches to an impeachment, and yes, 3. The Russiagate scandal was an approachment to impeachment, and it ended up getting stopped short. The second, the impeachment that actually occurred, which was clearly fallacious, there was no evidence to support that maneuver. In fact, more importantly, there was exculpatory evidence against the claims of the impeachment that actually occurred, which was intentionally repressed by the FBI in the middle of that impeachment. And holy crap, this goes back to Pelosi trying to conduct a military coup. She will face no consequences for the crime of for the treasonous act of attempting to conduct a military coup against the sitting and lawfully elected commander-in-chief, because she is part of the anointed class. And the same goes for the FBI agents who were involved in actively suppressing significant, compelling exculpatory evidence in the middle of an active impeachment investigation. They will face no consequences because their job is to commit those crimes.
Yes. And where do we get our information from? I mean, there's a reason why guys like you and I are being boxed out.
Because we have the dirty habit of reading.
Well, and thinking for ourselves and telling the truth, or at least trying to come as close to it as we possibly can, even to the point to where you and I occasionally come into conflict with each other. They can't have that. They can't have the independent thought. No. You have to get your news from those, giant media conglomerates. I've read all the Harry Potter books multiple times. And the 5th one is my favorite. I feel like it's pitch perfect. It amazes me that a middle-aged woman could so accurately write the mentality of a frustrated 14-year-old boy. Like, that's pretty impressive to me. But I think the thing that really...
Jack Nicholson said it best in what is it? damn, in that movie where he played a writer, and the woman, the fangirl walks up, says, "Oh God, I love your books. I love your books. How do you write women? How do you write female characters so compellingly?" And he looks her dead in the eye with a straight face, says, "I think of a man, and then I remove all logic and accountability."
No, but there's an absolutely a fantastic section in there where Rowling really touched on an incredibly deep truth. At this point, Voldemort has been resurrected, and the children are trying to get the truth out to the world because, he's Voldemort. He is the evil one.
Right, but nobody wants to listen to them because they're sitting on his knee.
Something like that, yeah. So one of the characters basically
he likes kids sitting on his knee.
One of the characters basically blackmails a reporter named Rita Skeeter.
Yep.
And says, Hermione tells Rita, said, "Look, you got to write this story." And Rita's like, "Why?" And Hermione's like, "Don't you care about getting the truth out? Doesn't the Daily Prophet, the name of the newspaper in the Harry Potter universe, care about getting the truth out?" And Rita Skeeter drops a real truth bomb on Hermione and says, "The Daily Prophet only exists to sell itself, dear. CNN only exists to sell CNN. Fox News only exists to sell Fox News." I remember when I was a sweet summer child and thought that if I watched CNN for an hour and watched Fox News for an hour, I had the complete picture and both sides of it. And that's what they want to push us back to. They can continue to absolutely control the narrative as long as they can tell us what the right and the left are. Like, we're so far into Psyop territory here, it's difficult not to invert yourself and come back out the other side.
Yeah, and tinfoil hats are selling at a premium right now. And real quick, little bit of a tangent. I want to address something. Drew made a comment. He said, "There won't even be a history book, Chris. The public school system and the university system of Georgia are trying to take history out of the curriculum because they say it's no longer important." Drew, I'm not going to address your comment so much as I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about. If there's a specific article or a specific incident that has occurred that hasn't come across my radar yet that makes you make that statement, I don't disagree with you. I homeschool. Well, my wife and I homeschool 4 kids right now because, like I've said on this show before, when I was a kid in public school, the teachers at least had the common decency to merely waste my time. They weren't actively going out of their way to cause me intellectual and academic harm. They weren't making it a point to hurt my brain and make me less intelligent. They were just functionally useless. But teachers are no longer functionally useless. They're no longer merely glorified babysitters. Teachers in the modern day, and the younger the teacher, the less time they've spent in academia, the more true this is, are a threat to your security, your safety, and your child's future. Like we've said on this show many times, if I'm hiring people and you come to me with a resume that says you have a degree in gender studies or critical race theory or something like that, we're done. When you entered that college and chose to take that degree, you were too stupid to work for me. By the time you finished that degree, you were dumber than you started.
Yes, you're functionally broken on an intellectual level.
So, okay, we're 20 minutes in. We're trying to make it a point to stick to the 30-minute mark from here going forward as much as possible on the... Yeah, anyway. What else did I want to hit? Let's dig into Parler Section 230, and we already talked about Trump being silenced as part of the coup. Part of the whole reason this censorship is going on right now in this exact moment's context is while they're engaging in their fifth or sixth attempted coup against the president, they're trying to prevent him from being able to speak in his own defense. And to their credit, they're doing so effectively. Excuse me. Now, okay. Yeah, Steve says Parler is still down, but they expect to be back up this evening. And Krista just pointed out, and this is really something I was about to get to. Alex Jones telling about it once, and my littlest was about 4 and did that kid parrot thing, where that's all she said over and over for a while every time we had okay, I thought you were making a different point. The point that I was about to make that I thought you were making. When they came for Alex Jones, I remember talking about this back then. I was not a fan of Alex Jones when they banned Alex Jones from everything, when they unpersoned Alex Jones. Now, during the events of the 6th, Alex Jones was out. He ran over there from the president's speech, and he was outside of the Capitol building with a megaphone, shouting, screaming, begging, "Don't do this. You're about to screw up." Alex Jones was outside the Capitol building calling for calm, calling for peace, calling for people to back off. A fair assessment of that situation is as simple as this. Alex Jones saved lives that day. Now, Alex Jones has a tendency, and I've said his name like 20 times now, so I'm sure we're already deplatformed. If we had been monetized to begin with, that was over. But anyway, Alex Jones, the more I've heard from him and from others about him, and I've gone through and listened to his depositions from the cases against him, he was not well defended in the public when they came after him. People just said, "Oh, well, he's just a crazy right-wing nut job. It doesn't matter. He's just one person." Bullshit. He was the first one. He was the first big one. Now Dave Cullen has been deplatformed and depersoned everywhere. Computing forever.
Bye-bye.
Gone. We saw Stefan Molyneux removed. And people have said Stefan Molyneux's a white supremacist, a white nationalist, all this stuff. Bullshit. Those words come out of your mouth, you're an idiot or a liar. There's no in between. Right? You either don't know what the facts are, or you're deliberately misleading. And if you're speaking vociferously against these people, you're deliberately misleading. What's interesting about Alex Jones that I have found more and more, he tends to actually be right about a lot of shit. Most of the time, what Alex Jones has is he's right about a particular kernel of truth in the midst of whatever it is that he's saying, and then he takes it too far and makes extraordinary claims or extraordinary predictions, or over exaggerates the nature of the truth condition of the claim. But the best example is they screamed up and down, "Oh, he said they're turning the frogs gay." And that's it. He literally said the words, "They're putting chemicals in the water to turn the frogs gay." But
they're turning the frickin' frogs gay.
Yeah. But there was actually something there. There was a chemical causing certain frogs in a certain pond to spontaneously gender swap, which is a thing that, as we all know from Jurassic Park, can happen and apparently can be exacerbated by chemical interference. So he was talking about a thing that was actually happening, and then he did his own narrative a disservice by over-exaggerating and speaking hyperbolically on the subject. And honestly, that's the thing that Alex Jones is most guilty of, is expansive hyperbole. Now, he was the canary in the coal mine, though. And all we're going to see is that Overton window, which defines who is the target, it's not just going to shift further and further to the left. It's going to shift and shrink. and it's going to shrink from the right faster than it does from the left. So that it will be the case that before it is verboten to demand that you abolish the family unit, abolish private property, abolish the police, and force white people to surrender their property at gunpoint to people who are not white for no reason other than their ethnic identity. Before it is verboten to say that, it will be verboten to suggest that late-term abortion is unacceptable. Not that abortion is bad, but that there's a point during a pregnancy at which you go from being abortion is okay to abortion is no longer okay. That will fall off and be verboten first. In fact, the statement, it's okay to be white, will be verboten before the statement, defund the police, is a deplatformable offense. The Overton window will shift and shrink. It will shift to the left while shrinking from the right. That's what we can expect over the next 4 years. Now, there is a bright spot in there, and there's a bright spot from what happened on the 6th. If you had any doubt or continued to harbor any suspicion that we retained representation in the GOP at the level of the elected official that was not utterly compromised by cowardice, when Ted Cruz called the protesters at Capitol Hill terrorists, those suspicions should have been allayed. The fact of the matter is, at this point, if you are an American that believes in the Constitution, or if you have ever held an office or a position for which you swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, you are now completely and without exception unrepresented in the United States government. In fact, you are their enemy, as they have intentionally and explicitly expressed the term.
Wow. There you go. We're the bad guys now, basically. And it's going to get a whole lot worse before it gets better. I mean, it's one of the things that we talked about on the Clusterfuck last night, and so many others, Styx and Sargon, and so many of the free speech titans. Count Dankula had a fantastic tweet while all this was going on. It was something to the effect of, why is everybody in America shitting their pants right now? I see a mostly peaceful protest. I
mean, bless him and his Nazi pug. Hey, real quick, we need to go ahead and put a pin in this for various reasons. Drew made a comment that he's going to give me a call after the show. Drew, I can't take a call after the show. I've got other places I've got to be. We'll have to touch base later, buddy. But I do also I've got somebody watching on Twitch, and I haven't seen a comment from you watching there on Twitch. So if you could leave a comment and let me know how the show looks over there, I'd appreciate it.
Please. Yes, please.
But apart from that, it's time to go ahead and wrap up so we've got things to do. I've got a follow-up appointment for my surgery that I have to get to. And Cameron,
and I have to
Puff
go
the
back
Magic
to work.
Cameron has to go puff the magic bugs away.
Anyhow, just love you guys, really. Glad you're loyal. Glad you watch us. Enjoy it while we can, because, yeah. I'll put it like this. If you've got any pictures in your Facebook memories that you really enjoy, go ahead and make copies of them now.
And I would also like to respond to Thomas Waller's wrap up this dick. I suggest you take that advice yourself, because your commentary is boring and uninteresting, and it renders you it renders you valueless as a productive member. So please wrap it up. Don't reproduce. And y'all be safe out there. Love ya. We'll see you tomorrow. little harsh, but don't be a bitch. Oh, Tom,
right, brother.
it's Tom Waller making a comment. And he also said, "Love you, Chris." We love you too, Tom. And I know that we're just fucking with you because friends do that. And this time I'm going to hit the outro again, and that's actually going to be the end of the show.